the ocean. It's that tears that I feel up with emotions. Could I taste them for real? Longing for you, oh, but I can't get back. What can I do when your train is gone?
Hey friends, and welcome back to my monthly freezer meal prep videos. In this series, you will find plenty of easy freezer meals to make ahead so that your week or month can run a little bit smoother. If you are new here, my name is Katrina, otherwise known as Mama Cat here on this channel, and my typical uploads consist of grocery hauls, meal plans, what's for dinner videos, and pretty much anything food related. You will find it here. I do hope that you enjoy my meal prep video today and decide to stick around. Hit that subscribe button and turn your bell notifications on to all so that you never miss an upload from me. First things first, I am just chopping up some fruit for the kids. Whenever I am in the kitchen, my kids are telling me that they are hungry, and since I am spending a fair bit of the day in the kitchen today, it's always handy having a bunch of fruit prepped and ready for them to snack on while they watch me cook. So to kick off our freezer meal prep today, I am starting by making some frozen mashed potato. I have had a couple people now mention that theirs always comes out watery, and I can confirm that when using my method here today, they always come out pretty much the exact same as freshly made mashed potatoes. But in saying that, when I make mashed potato fresh, I usually just add milk and a little bit of butter, whereas when I am making a batch of frozen, I cook up 2 kilograms of potatoes and add 1 tin of evaporated milk and about 2 tablespoons of butter. So I do make them slightly different. Both taste absolutely amazing though, but the trick to mashed potatoes being freezable is making sure to coat them in full fat dairy. So cream and butter are really good choices. Not the healthiest, but as long as the portions are small, I really don't see the problem. So while I have those potatoes boiling away on the stove, I was about to put some rice into the microwave to cook for our next meal, but the postman surprisingly actually arrived that day. I was not expecting him, but he dropped off my new pots and pans and glass meal prep containers. This video is not sponsored at all. There is no affiliate links or anything like that. I was just so excited, and since I was filming today anyway, I thought that I would do a little unboxing so that you guys could enjoy the excitement with me. I have been eyeing these pots and pans off on Amazon forever now, and I finally made the purchase. The last set that I got was from Kogan, and they were about $60, and they lasted me about 2 years. They had those detachable handles, which you've probably seen here before on my channel, and they were great for storage, but they were actually really annoying, and the handles couldn't really handle the weight of the food in the pots and the pans, so it wasn't ever really safe carrying it from the stove to the sink. I always had to make sure, the kids were out of the room, and I also usually would use like an oven mitt to hold the other end. So I am happy to have permanent handles again on these ones, but I gotta say, I've been using these pink ones for a week now and I'm pretty disappointed. I paid around $150 for these and already they have little scratches on them. You definitely have to stick to the plastic utensils on these as they scratch so easily. I do usually prefer to use my metal ones though, as they don't bend and they're a lot easier on my wrists while cooking. So for me, that's let me down a little bit good, but then also the paint on the handles kind of melted away in the heat after the first couple of cooks. So I'm definitely not here recommending these to you today, but just wanted to share because I am still so excited about my new pink pots and pans, and I still love them so much. But I also grabbed these glass meal prep containers off Amazon, and I will say these are 100% worth it. I love these. I love that for storage the little ones fit inside the big one even with the lids on. I would definitely purchase more of these in the future.
And I'm acting stupid like every day. Don't know what to do or what I should say, 'cause I've got him on my mind, but he doesn't know my name.
So I went ahead and added the butter and evaporated milk, and now I'm just adding some flavoring. If you're new here, I'm forever bragging about this sour cream and chives flavor sachet. It makes your mashed potato taste incredible. So you can go ahead and portion your mashed potato out into any container that has the right portion for your family. For me, it's these little metal ones. We usually have an embarrassing amount of mashed potato on our plate, so these frozen portions are much more appropriate for our family of 4. Once these are full and cooled for an hour or so, I add the lids they come with and put them into the freezer. Then when it comes time to reheating them, I literally just take them straight out of the freezer as is and put them straight onto the bottom rack in the oven at the same time that I turn the oven on to preheat. That way it gets a little extra time in there than the rest of the dinner that I will be cooking. And about halfway through, I open it up, I give it a bit of a stir and a mash with a fork, and then return the lid and put it straight back into the oven with the rest of the dinner. Usually I find it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to reheat. Also, here you see me adding little slithers of butter on top. I know on camera it looks like a lot, but they are so tiny and you can opt to leave these off. I have in the past and it still reheats fine. The next freezer meal prep dinner I am making is fried rice. We are loving this at the moment, so I really wanted to batch cook a few meals today. I went ahead and washed my new pots and pans, and I'm so excited to be using these for the first time here. I just cooked my rice using the absorption method, 4 cups of rice to 8 cups of water, and it cooked perfectly back there while I was portioning out the potatoes. So now I am adding some olive oil to the pan and about 4 diced onions. I had these in the freezer that I had prepped a couple months ago now that needed to be used up. Then I have just used up all the random half bags of veg in my freezer. Usually I would just boil these vegetables, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to try out the new steamer attachment. Next, I am just adding in some chopped up bacon. Again, this is something that I've had in the freezer that needed to be used up. Once that had cooked down enough, I added about 6 eggs to the pan to scramble. I haven't ever had a pan with such high sides before, and I honestly can't describe how much better it is to cook with this pan than a regular one. I love it so much fits inside of it. It's just incredible.
What's it like to hold his hand when he tells you that you're all he wants? And it's me.
So since the pot isn't big enough to mix this up in, I'm just going to go ahead and mix it up in this mixing bowl here, add some soy sauce, and then put them into the meal prep containers. So again, you can portion your freezer meal out into portions that suit the size of your family. Usually for a rice dish like this, I would recommend putting it into side serving dish sizes like the ones that I used for the mashed potato. But this time in my case, I did decide to use these as a main meal one night, so I've just put them into the larger dishes this time so that when it is time for them to get reheated, there will be plenty there and I don't need to worry about adding anything else to the meal that night.
I've got him on my mind, but he doesn't know my name, and I'm running out of time. I wish you felt the same, and I'm acting stupid like every day. Don't know what to do or what I should say, 'cause I've got him on my mind, but he doesn't know my name.
Next on the monthly freezer meal prep list was chicken and broccoli carbonara pasta bake. So for this one, I'm just putting 3 large chicken breasts into the pot here. Then I'm just covering them with water to cook them. I recently read somewhere that adding chicken stock to the water while boiling the chicken makes it taste heaps better. And I'm here to say that I wasn't a huge fan of that, so I don't think that I'll be doing it again. I feel like the taste just really overpowered the dish and gave it like that fake chickeny taste like you would get in a packet of chicken chips or something like that. So I definitely prefer the more natural chicken flavor. But then I've just gone ahead and added a bag of frozen broccoli into my steamer here, and then I just filled this pot over here with as much pasta that I could get to fit in it, which I think was about 2.5 bags. When I was writing up my meal plan this month, I knew that I wanted to make a pasta bake of some kind because we bought about 10 packets of this Vetasmart pasta, which we have been buying forever now and we love it, but this batch was absolutely horrible. It doesn't matter how long or short that we cooked the pasta for, every single penne piece in the packets just shredded up, and it ended up looking like heaps of really short spaghetti, and it was just really weird. So I just wanted to cook those up today and add them into these pasta bakes. I feel like it's not as noticeable when mixed into a bake and covered in cheese. So now I am adding this Dolmio carbonara sauce. So just a little PSA, if you are new to making pasta bakes, I definitely recommend adding 2 jars of sauce to each bake, as the oven does dry out the dish slightly, especially if you are making these as freezer meals like myself today. The freezing and reheating process definitely takes some moisture out of this dish. The reason I'm making sure to share this today is because I feel like I could literally get this tip tattooed on me and I would still forget to add that second jar. I honestly can't tell you how often I make this mistake, so don't be me and remember to add 2 jars when making this for your family. Once the chicken breasts were cooked, I just went ahead and used my stick blender to mince that down so that it's easy for my younger kids to eat, but usually I would just use forks or a regular hand mixer to shred the chicken, and then on the night I would chop up the kids' chicken smaller. But this day I decided to just make it smaller in the first place so that I can just serve it straight up on the night, no fuss, and ready to eat, especially if I'm not the one cooking the bake that night or if we have a babysitter or something like that. It's just so much easier and less stress knowing that the chicken is already small and there is no, risk of choking for my younger kids. And then I just went ahead and topped it off with some steamed broccoli and some freshly grated mozzarella cheese. With these freezer meals, I went ahead and cooked one of these in the oven that night on 180 degrees for 20 minutes, basically until it had a really nice brown cheesy top. And then I went ahead and wrapped the other 2 for the freezer. When I go ahead and reheat these freezer meals, I just pull one out the night before and put it into the fridge to defrost. Then the next night, I put it in the oven on 180 degrees for about 45 minutes, and then I take the top off and cook on 200 degrees for 20 minutes. If you do forget to pull it out though the night before, I have put this straight from the freezer into the oven as well, but it usually takes about 2 hours to heat through fully.
Thinking about him, and would he understand if I told him how I feel about him?
Last on the dinner freezer meals this month was a vegetarian lasagna roll-up. So I have all of my ingredients out on the bench here, and first thing I am doing is cooking my lasagna sheets, which apparently I don't know how to do. You'll see that disaster soon, but while the water is boiling away for that, I'm just going to go ahead and finally grate up my zucchini. As with most recipes that involve zucchini, you will need to squeeze out as much liquid as possible from these once they are grated. I had mine right at the back of the fridge, which tends to freeze stuff sometimes in my fridge, so I had a lot of liquid to squeeze out of mine. I used a paper towel once to do this and it became a mess real quick, so I learned from my mistake last time and found it much easier using a tea towel this time around. So you guys know I keep it real here on my channel. I'm not going to pretend that I am a professional chef. I am just a mum who loves sharing meal inspiration and new dinner ideas with you all. And along the way, I don't always get everything right. So please feel free to educate me a bit here on the best way to cook lasagna sheets, because I can tell you now, if you put them in the pot together like this, they will come out glued together like this, and it is a mess to deal with. So stick around to see how that unfolded. But for the filling, I am just adding some olive oil to my pan along with plenty of garlic before adding my grated zucchini, and I let that saute in the pan for about 5 minutes. So now that that is cooked, I'm just adding the garlic zucchini into this bowl here and combining it with 2 375 gram tubs of light ricotta cheese. This probably seems like a lot, but because I'm making 2 of these dishes, I have doubled the recipe today. But for those of you watching from home wanting to make this for yourself, I will leave the recipe to these vegetarian lasagna roll-ups in the description box below so that you can find exact measurements there. Next, I just added in 1 cup of Parmesan cheese and 2 eggs, and let me tell you, while I was mixing this, the smell was absolutely incredible. If there wasn't raw egg in this, I think I would have been eating this by the spoonful. This recipe was by far my favorite meal. Even my 4-year-old absolutely loved it. But seriously, I wish you could smell how good this smells right now. I could not recommend it enough. To assemble these bakes, I am first adding half a jar of pasta sauce to the base of each bake. I'm using our favorite Dolmio spicy peppers pasta sauce here, but you could add any pasta sauce to yours. But you really want to make sure that you spread it right out to the corners of this bake. It just helps to make sure none of the pasta sticks or dries out on the bottom during the reheating process. I like to call it the protective layer. And then it is time to assemble the roll-ups. For the pasta sheets that I did manage to save, I went ahead and cut them in half, as I'm pretty sure that I was supposed to use lasagna noodles in this recipe and not lasagna sheets. Then I added about 1/3 a cup of filling to each one, rolled them up and added them to the bake. Somehow I managed to save enough of the lasagna sheets to make enough roll-ups for one of the bakes, and I was about to cut my losses and only make one of these up, but instead I thought I would get creative and just try my best to puzzle piece together a more regular style lasagna with all of the mangled lasagna sheets that I had left over. Because although it's not as pretty as the roll-ups, in the end it's the taste that matters, and I was not passing up on having 2 of these in my freezer because I knew from the smell that they were going to taste amazing. Next, I just went ahead and topped them with another half a jar of sauce each, and just like every other bake, I added plenty of cheese to the top as well. Freezer meal prep would not be complete in our house without some freezer muffins of some kind. The kids had fun making some chocolate chip banana muffins, which turned out delicious, so I will be sure to leave the recipe for those down below as well. But that's it for this week's monthly freezer meal prep video. If you are still here and watching, pretty please hit that like button, consider subscribing and turning on those bell notifications. I upload new videos here every single week and would love to have you here. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you back here again really soon with a brand new video.